Thank you. So lots of really great tips today on building connections with our online students. We've heard a little bit about cohorts today. I want to share about how we're using that in human ecology in the financial planning program. A little bit of our background. All of our programs are now online. So all of our graduate programs have been online for quite a while now. Our undergraduate program just went online live last year. We've been developing courses with Global Campus for the past few years, but it's officially live online. So looking to use the same cohort model with the undergraduate program as we can, but it will look different than our graduate programs by nature of how students flow through the courses. So we have our on-campus undergraduate students, obviously, but today focusing on the online. We have two graduate certificate programs. You can see up there our regular personal financial planning and then our financial therapy graduate certificate. Most of our students, now that we have a standalone master's program, flow directly straight then into the master's after they complete one of the certificates and just finish. They do like a 14-month certificate and then finish their full master's with the online master's program, and then our PhD program as well. Our doctoral program is a little unique in that in this industry, in the financial planning world, we're one of 5 programs in the nation currently, and we were the first to be largely online. And so as you are taking things from today and what we're all have been talking about in building connections, we've been kind of the leader in the financial planning education world. But before we talk about building those connections through cohorts, that's really what I want to focus on. It really starts with our staff. You know that students that are engaged in making connections with faculty and staff are doing better and perform well in courses. And this really starts when they start calling and asking questions about the program. And so having that one person that they are calling and talking to that's doing maybe some advising in our graduate programs. She also does works with the programs of study for the PhD students. They're the ones who are making that first point of contact with the students. They're the ones who always have that positive personality, helpful, caring, and students feel comfortable asking questions, whereas they might not ask those questions of the faculty. So it really starts there. And really from more the undergraduate side, if you have undergraduate online programs, it's that advisor. So our undergraduate program is new. We can't really move through cohorts because you don't know if they're going to be a full-time student, a part-time student. Maybe they already have an associate's degree. When are they going to start going through that program? And so from an advising standpoint, getting that course sequencing down. So our hope is that if they are full-time undergraduate students, we have a course sequence that they'll flow through as they start that program of really our core courses in financial planning. But that looks different at the graduate level. So in all of our graduate programs, we utilize cohorts. And really what this looks like is having the same group of people moving through, same group of students moving through courses. We've heard some about cohorts with other programs today as well. Something that we do similar to some of these other programs you've heard from. They have those live weekly courses. In the doctoral program, those are required. So typically either weekly or at the beginning of the semester, they do a doodle poll or something like that, because we also have students located all around the country and around the world. When can they meet? And it's required. And really more at that PhD level, it's not necessarily an instruction hour or two, it's a discussion hour or two in what they've been going through in their coursework. And then if they're further on, more working through their writing and having that discussion time there. In our graduate certificates and our master's program, I think most of the professors are utilizing that more of it as an instruction time, but it's also where even if they are doing some instruction, there's time for interaction. And even though these students are all over the place, they're able to see the instructor or professor's face, but also each other. Same, I think, whoever was speaking before me, talking about, if they don't mute those things, you hear lots of fun things. So when you bring students together and they're not familiar with technology, that can always be entertaining. But that's how they get to know each other to start in these live weekly classes, and that's where they're starting to engage. Other pieces about our cohorts and sizes, it's really a balancing act. So our certificate, as I said, kind of one and the same with our masters. Our fall cohorts tend to be a little bit bigger than our spring cohorts. We keep them separate. And then same with the PhD, depending on how many we have later on in their coursework, working on their dissertations versus those who are still in coursework, trying to balance how many we accept fall and spring so that they're getting the attention that we think they deserve and what is adequate in our program. Something as well that we do in our program for the PhD program is that they spend the first 3 summers, first 3 years in the summer on campus here. We also utilize the dorms, so they kind of get that dorm life experience and bonding together. If you go to our website, they've made a fun video about what they've learned in their summer experience, and there's I think a video of them trying to get onto the top bunk in the dorms, right? The things they may have not thought they would do in their maybe 30s, 40s, 50s, but they have a fun time while they're here. We use this, so the first, during those 10 days, so it's 10 days intensive, each of those 3 cohorts complete a different 3 credit hour course. So first year cohort has a 3 credit hour course, second year has their own, third year has their own, and then all of the cohorts together complete a 1 credit hour course over the weekend. The other structure of this, kind of a takeaway to think through, is we spend the mornings in the classroom. So through those 10 days, they spend their mornings in the classroom together, and then we spend the afternoons focusing more on professional development. And so those who are not as far along in their coursework can learn from those who are further along. So some of those who are ready for dissertation defenses and proposals, those younger students can see what the expectations are, what lies ahead for them. And so we use that. And then, of course, like all the other programs who bring students together, fun things, hiking the Kanza, basketball tournaments, whatever they're wanting to do, but just as a way for them to continue to build that relationship with one another. In the 4th summer, for our PhD students, it's a required travel abroad trip. Really, this is kind of their capstone experience where they get to go see how, wherever they're traveling, how those markets, what those financial markets look like, how they're affecting the global economy, how it relates back to our economy here in the US, and really seeing those, taking students to South Korea, China, Belgium, the Netherlands, building relationships with Italy. So really getting them that real world experience, not just in the US, but outside of the US as well. And really by the time they get here, they've built deep lasting friendships with these folks, with their cohorts. And so they get to travel together. It's a fun experience. And they continue to deepen those relationships and build not only a continued network with those people in their cohort, but with the connections that they make on these trips. Time and time again, we have students, as they complete the program, talking about how rewarding of an experience this is. I think that's all of our struggle in teaching online, is building those connections. How do we keep them connected with us, and how do we keep them connected with one another? And so I think moving them through it with cohorts and forcing them to work together, forcing them to talk and communicate is key. And as much as you can bring them together as possible is important. I mentioned earlier, you know that the more engaged you can be with, many of us today have talked about communication with the students. The more over communicating that you can do with them, the more engaged they are with you, the better that they're doing in the course, and the more open they are to asking questions and asking for help when they need it, and keeping those conversation lines open. So I will end with a video of kind of a reflection from one of our PhD students in going through this program with the cohort.
My experience has been all positive with the cohort. We basically are like a family. And so, anytime there's issues in PhD programs, there might be someone might be going through a hard time. It's a roller coaster, but you lean on the cohort and they're there to help you out. And then just going through the classes and all of that, you really work jointly with each other while you're also doing some individual work, but it's really a joint experience. and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I think it's in my cohort, I now have 7 peers that will be awesome co-workers going forward. And so with that, it's probably the neatest thing about this program. It really is. It really is a K-State family.
That's really what it's about. It's about building those connections with the students and that they feel connected with you and with each other. So thank you.